We're live. Cool. Nice to see you all. Although I'm not seeing any of you right now because we've just started. So today I am going to talk to you about long-term success, which is actually quite different from short-term success. And the keys that you're going to do well in the long term, the signs, are actually quite different to the ones that you're going to do well in the short term. So I want to start by looking at a quote that I heard recently, which I'll come back to during this broadcast as more of you join. But the quote was, "When you lose patience, you lose the girl." I thought this was interesting because there seems to be sort of two, I don't want to call them schools of thought because it makes it sound all high and lofty, and really we're just talking about how to have success with women. But the two schools of thought that I see are the following. You have the rinse and repeat school of thought, which is the sort of go out there, get it done, shotgun approach. Do not pussyfoot around. Know what your intention is. State your intention. Ignore everything that doesn't get you straight to the point, straight to where you're going. And this school of thought is useful. It can be very useful to think of everything as, right, I'm not going to get distracted by thoughts. I'm not going to pursue any girls. I'm going to treat this like I'm going to go and talk to her. If she likes me, she likes me. If she doesn't, she doesn't. That's it. I don't care. Let's get it done. The other school of thought is the when you lose patience, you lose the girl school of thought. And this school of thought is about following through every interaction. Really following through, seeing it to its logical conclusion. Wasting time pursuing that which might not follow through. I find myself leaning towards either camp without really staying in one. So what I think this means for you and long-term success is that most of the advice that you're listening to and the advice that you're following at the moment, I'm fairly certain is going to be go for it. If she likes it, she likes it. If she doesn't, she doesn't. That's what we hear, right? That's what the people on the coaches on YouTube say. That's the sort of fashionable narrative. And I think it's all in all a good narrative for the majority of people, because a lot of the time you just need to get out there. You just need to get going. You just need to get started. But for long-term success, I think there's something else here. And there's an evolutionary origin to this as well, which is that a lot of the time, the most attractive women, or your type of woman, the type that you're likely to be attracted to, she is not only looking for a guy who is genetically competent, right? Because you could be the most genetically perfect guy. And yet if she still senses that you're not going to stick around, that you don't actually care, or that you see her as just another plaything, just another notch on the belt. Yes, she might be physically attracted to you, and yes, she might have an instinct towards being with you and staying with you, which is why we work our lives in this direction. Part of the benefit of working on yourself and self-development is that women will find you attractive. However, in my experience, there are many, many women who would find you attractive, and they would enjoy your conversation, they'd enjoy your company, they'll give you a number, maybe they'll even go on a date with you, maybe. But if they do not feel like you actually care about them or see them as having something extraordinary, as in outside of the ordinary, something to differentiate them from the majority, from the other women. If they don't feel like you see that in them, most women who are at a phase in their life when they're looking for a partner are not going to pursue you. And you're going to rationalize it as you did something wrong, or you didn't do enough. And all they see is this guy didn't care enough, right? He didn't see what's different about me. He didn't see what's special about me. And perhaps even he didn't know what to do. He did see it, but he didn't have the confidence to identify that I also liked him. I just needed more reassurance. And this is where we sway over to the other camp, to the other school of thought, that when you lose patience, you lose the girl school of thought. And this was most clear to me when, one of the girls that I dated like a couple of years, a year and a half, 2 years ago. Usually I would not pay much attention. If a girl didn't respond to my message, I would give up. I would think, oh, she's not interested, that's it. Burn it away, start again. This girl was different. We had a connection. I knew we had a connection. I knew there was something there, and I knew she liked me. And so I was messaging her for 9 months. Having only seen her twice in that 9 months, right? But my messages weren't saying, hey, you free today? Hey, you free today? Hey, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? It wasn't any of this try-hard stuff. It was just that I liked her and I acknowledged that we had a connection, and that connection superseded the ordinary connection that a man and a woman have. And she was my type completely. And so instead, when I was messaging her, it was because I wanted to message her, right? It wasn't me forcing a message out of my phone. It wasn't me saying, oh, be good to see this girl, so what shall I send her? It was like I had a thought because I liked her, and so I messaged her with what I wanted to say. And she felt that, right? She felt that I wasn't doing this necessarily to get the result, but I knew that she knew that we had a connection, and I knew that we had a connection. So what this illustrates to me, that after 9 months is that we did meet up and we did date, is that sometimes pursuing is the right thing to do. And look, let me get this back to the point of the conversation. There's the two schools of thought, but how does this relevant to your long-term success? Well, here's how. You need to take a leaf out of both books. You need to say, right, I'm not going to waste my time on girls that I'm not really interested, that aren't showing interest in me. However, I'm also going to understand that if I play my cards right and I express myself honestly and message the girls as and when I want to message them, because we have a different connection, and I allow them to feel that, many of the girls that I would normally lose, I'm not going to lose. They're going to come through. Because no other guys are showing this level of interest. No other guys showing this level of genuine interest. Not validation-seeking interest. Genuine interest in her as a person. And that's exciting for her. Because she has a natural tendency to want to find a guy that is genetically compatible and that gives a shit, that cares, that will look after her and her family, from the evolutionary point of view. So this is why when you're walking along the street and you see a guy with a beautiful girl and you think, how on earth did that guy get that girl? How did he manage to do that? Maybe that guy isn't her genetic perfect human being, right? Maybe that's not her dream guy on paper. But I bet you what he did was he showed her that he wanted her more than the other guys. And not in a needy way. He was just like, right, this is the one I want. This one is more exciting to me than all of the others. So I'm going to fucking go for it. I'm going to make it happen. That's what's happened in most of the cases when you see a guy that can't understand how he's with the girl. He's figured it out because he gave a shit. He's figured it out because he likes her. And that's the understanding that you would do well to come to with regard to the long-term success. Rollo Tomassi he uses this example of plate spinning. And I think, as I said before, by the way, guys, for those of you that are watching, please ask your questions now. Comment, tell me you're here. Tell me what you want to talk about. Ask me any questions. Make yourself known. Rollo Tomassi talks about plate spinning. And when he talks about plate spinning, it's about keeping lots of interactions going at the same time. The more plates you got spinning, the better, the more opportunities you have. But I think what he fails to pick up on is that one of those plates might be a gold-leafed plate that you've inherited from your great-grandparents that means a lot. And one of those plates might be an ASDA £1.50 disposable plastic plate. And there is an important distinction between the plates. If there is that distinction in your mind, then it is not trivial. If one of those girls you really like and one of them you don't like, you would do well to figure out what you need to do to get the one that you like. Because a girl that you really like is worth 100 girls that you don't like. A girl that you find exceptionally beautiful, interesting, amazing is worth many, many women that you went for to get momentum or to follow the process, but that you didn't really care about. We get into this process for the way it makes us feel to overcome the difficulty of the approach, which is terrifying at the start, and to feel that sense of conquest in our everyday lives, to feel that sense of, I've overcome a truly difficult challenge here, and I can see it. I know where I was before this conversation, and I know that I plucked up the courage, I did it, I had the conversation, and I've improved myself. It's a tangible, visceral element of improvement, like a unit of improvement that you can see happening. It's real, it's there. And so when it comes to your long-term success, you have to understand both of these ideas. You have to understand that you do not compromise your value for anyone. You do not change the way you're communicating. Say things that wouldn't actually come out of your mouth in order to get the girl, because you cannot keep up disingenuousness. Maybe you could say something that wasn't natural for you once, and maybe it fools her, but in the long run, it won't. So you cannot be disingenuous when it comes to the messaging. And so what you need to do is you need to stay true to the way that you communicate in the way that you want to. Do not compromise your value. Do not say bullshit that you wouldn't usually say. Do not, if she uses lots of emojis, don't suddenly start using loads of emojis like it's normal to you, right? She's not going to respect you for using the same mode of communication as her. She's going to respect you for using your mode of communication. In the same way, she's not going to respect you if you agree with her political opinions. She's going to respect you if you have your own. So do not compromise yourself. Do not allow a girl to continuously rudely flake on you and not suggest another day. Like if a girl says, oh, hey, I can't make it today, 5 minutes before the day, doesn't suggest another one, that's rude, right? So you should address that. You shouldn't forgive that, because she won't respect you if you don't bring that up and say and address it. However, the other side of the story is that when it matters, it matters. When there's a girl that you like more than the other ones, it is your job as a problem solver to figure it out, and not just to message her the same as you'd message a girl that you don't like. To think, no, I like this girl. We had a connection. I know what I want to say, right? I know how I feel about her. And so I'm going to communicate that in a playful way. And I'm going to show her that I'm a problem solver, and that when I want something, I go after it and I figure out how to get it. So building on the identity conversation we had yesterday, where you don't identify yourself with any one group, the same is true here. Do not identify yourself with the rinse and repeat group of people. The people that say, no, if she doesn't respond to my message, that's it, deleted, gone, blocked. I'm a high value man. I'm a high value man and I don't have time for this. It's too serious. It doesn't work. Women aren't attracted to that. They're not attracted to the guy that takes his life so seriously and talks about his value all the time. It's something subtle, right? You can know your value without flaunting it. Someone that talks about their wealth is not really the wealthy person, or at least not the wealthy person that's worthy of respect. So if you know your own value, it's not, it shouldn't be something you flaunt and you talk about and you reassure yourself with. It should be a quiet background humming throughout your day where you understand what you're worth, but you don't take yourself too serious. So if you like the girl, you figure out how to get her. If she's disrespecting you, you address it. That doesn't necessarily mean you don't talk to her again. It just means that you call her out, right? We don't reward bad behavior. We don't, if we want someone's behavior to change because we feel they're being disrespectful, we have to address it, right? So guys, as I said, if any of you are just joining the stream, just say hi, let us know you're here, post a comment here, and I'm happy to answer any questions. It's always fun when you guys are getting involved with the conversation. So how do you How do you improve in the long run? Well, let's go back to the quote that your results are a lagging measure of your processes. So what happens a lot of the time is guys begin to go out and they start approaching. They do, 4 or 5 approaches a day. Even a week, it's pretty good to start with. It's not easy. And they do this for a couple of weeks and they say, look, I'm not getting the results I want. And the truth is that these approaches that you did early on are going to compound with time. Numbers you get the first week might not pull through in the first week or the second week. Hey, 7. But in the third week, you might start finding that some of the numbers from week 1 are pulling through. And if you followed my advice, you'll have them on a broadcast list. I put all of my numbers from each season. So it might be London 2021, London Spring 2021, Brazil Winter 2022, whatever. I have a list of the girls that are there. And I usually have a different approximation of them and how I value them or think about them. Some of them might be friends, some of them might be girls that I just really like, I want to hang out with, social circle, girls that I want to date, girls that I am dating, but I'll keep them there. But what happens is guys think that when they start putting in the right processes, they start approaching more, that the results should follow in tandem with the new process, right? So you started doubling the amount of approaches you did, or you started meditating for 20 minutes in the morning, and thus the quality of your approaches improved. But then after 10 days, after 2 weeks, you think, well, I've improved the processes and I'm getting the same results. So this isn't working. And either you become demotivated because you're seeing no fruits of your labor, or you believe that you have to change again and do something differently. And really what's usually the case is that point where you feel like, look, I'm plateauing, I'm getting bored, nothing's happening, nothing's changing. That's like the final swing of the axe before the tree falls. And you've swung 20 times and the tree's still standing. And you stop because it's not fallen over. But that's the moment where one more swing of the axe will knock down the tree. One more week of that approaching, you'll start to see week 1, week 2, and now week 3 coming through. And you'll start to see the validation of your process. You'll start to see the positivity of your processes bringing you the results that you're looking for. And that's the good type of validation, right? Validation, it's got a negative connotation here. But in this context, it's like you need your actions to be validated by results. If you're not getting results from your actions, then your actions usually need changing. But in this case, think about it like this. Results are a lagging measure of your processes. So patience, right? So this is where those 2 primary quotes come together. When you lose patience, you lose the girl. As soon as you start thinking in terms of ultimatums, right? A lot of guys think like, look, you've flaked 2 times. I'm a busy guy. I don't really have time. So let me know when you're next free. Never in the history of male-female dating has that comment, although it's tempting to say, just let me know when you're free because I don't have time for this, or like, tell me when you're next free. Never have I seen it work. Never have I witnessed anyone for whom it's worked. And that's because you've lost patience. You've said, right, well, I don't care anymore. I give up on this. She can tell me, even though she probably won't, she can tell me, right? You've lost patience. You've lost the girl. And the other one, results are a lagging measure of your processes, i.e. you need to have patience, right? You need to be patient enough with the processes to give the results time to adapt to the new processes, to give time for your results to validate your process. Give time to the woman that you like. Give time to the process of messaging her when you want to. Be patient with the process because she may like you. She may even be seeing another guy. She may be busy. She may be a little bit timid. But if you demonstrate that you are the type of guy that not only is genetically compatible, but also that you actually care, she's going to be way more interested in dating you. She's going to be far more likely to want to be with you because not only are the genetic criteria met, that you're a confident guy that came up and talked to her, made her feel good, did it with confidence in a way that she hasn't usually experienced, fine. There will be other guys with that as well. But those other guys probably won't put the time in. They probably won't care enough. They probably won't know that it even works to pursue a girl in the right way. But you do. So you don't let her disrespect you. You stay true to your values. You stay patient. But you also treat Rollo Tomasi's plate, this plate that's spinning, you treat it with more care and more focused attention than you would a cheap disposable plate. So let's come back to this a bit later. But for those of you watching now, the numbers are shooting up at the moment. So just let me know that you're here. Let me know who you are. Ask any questions relevant to this topic, and let's get stuck in. Let's dig into it, because there's a lot to get through. I was wondering, how do you make her know that it's a one-time thing and not a relationship? Do you just tell her, or question mark? Very colloquial 7. No, look, here's how I would look at this. When you first hook up with a girl, it is an error to assume that she's looking for a relationship off the back of it, right? I used to do this. I used to feel some sense of guilt or shame if I would go on a date with a girl, and I wouldn't, make it clear whether I was looking for something serious or just a cool experience to have some fun. But when you mention that and say, by the way, like, I really am not looking for anything serious, her initial reaction is to just think, well, why the fuck do you think I'm looking for something serious, right? Like, even if she is looking for something serious, it's like you're putting words in her mouth. Like, you're assuming that she's looking for something serious and you're not. It comes across as sort of arrogant and socially unintelligent to bring that up early on. And thus, from my experience of, not offending, I wouldn't say, but disappointing or annoying women by saying I'm not looking for anything serious when we on our first date or when we've had a one-night stand, I learned that it's not your job to cross that bridge before you arrive at it, right? It's not your job to address that issue before the issue arises, right? Just in the same way that if you wanted to be in a relationship with this girl, it's not her job to ask you, do you want to be in a relationship with me? That's your prerogative, right? That's your place to say, listen, I like you. I enjoy spending time with you more than I enjoy spending time with any other woman. And I want to make something happen here. So if you're down, if you want to come along for the ride, you know what I'm about. You know I'm going to be good to you. You know I'm going to be loyal to you. So are you in, right? That seems like as good a way as any to enter a relationship in my eyes. But that would be your job to say that, right? It wouldn't be her job. And so just in the same way, if she's looking for something serious, that's her prerogative. That's her responsibility to let you know. You don't have to play her cards for her. That's for her to do. Now, look, some girls might be nervous or shy to say it, and they might assume that you want something serious because they're from a different cultural background or something. So you need to pay attention to her body language. You need to pay attention to her sub-communications if she's not confident to openly talk about that. However, the way I see it from a man's point of view is that you're just giving yourself another thing to be worried or anxious or uncertain about. And what's attractive is certainty, decisiveness, initiative. So you have no responsibility to do that. If she says, look, I don't want to be with you. I don't want to, sleep with you on the first date or the second date, or even before I'm in a relationship. I don't sleep with guys unless I'm in a relationship with them. And you say, look, I want something serious out of this so that she sleeps with you, then you're lying and it's a bad idea. And it's not going to benefit you in the long run. It's going to cause you very subtle psychological pain and stress. But if that's not the case, then get on with it and do what you want to do and have fun with her and get to know her and allow her the autonomy to address that issue if, as, and when she decides to. Hello. Hi, handsome. Hello, Grace. Again, good to have you in. Good to catch you, see Joel's. In my opinion, you always let the woman start where do we stand conversation. Yeah, I wouldn't say always, man. I would say if you have got to know her well enough and she's met all of your criteria for the type of girl that you'd want to be in a relationship with, and you really want that and you know what you want and you're sure about it, then I believe that the man should address that, right? Because I believe that most women, and particularly a woman that you like enough to want to be in a relationship with you, if you address that honestly and talk about it and you want to be with her, and she needs more time or she's not ready for that yet, she can say that and you can then decide what you want to do, right? But I wouldn't take away the autonomy for her to decide. And I think it's, I think in some cases you're right, but I think if you're sure that that's the girl you want, I think it's better to address that as and when. Just like with kissing on a date or something like kissing on a date, it never harms you to try and kiss the girl, right? Even if she doesn't kiss you back, you've made the intention clear, you've planted the seed, and in most cases, that's only going to make you, the two of you, closer. She sees that you know what you want, you go for what you want, and that's attractive. So even if she doesn't kiss you, it probably means she's more likely to. In the same way, if you want a relationship with her and you go for it, and she says, "Listen, like I'm in a really dark place right now. I need some time to think about it, but I really like you." Then now the ball's in your court again, and you can decide what you want to do, right? You can decide if you want to give it time, or if you think like she should be sure about this by now, and if she's not, then maybe it's not the right girl for me. That's your choice, but you should play your move when it's your turn to play, right, and not before. What is the mean to be in a relationship without trust? Just a bad relationship, Grace. A relationship without trust is just, it's normally a sign of codependence. It's normally a sign that you're in the relationship out of a mutual fear of loss, or a fear that you'll have to come up against your own solitude, your own loneliness, your own psychological trauma or psychological secrets. So normally if two people in a relationship are lying to each other or don't trust one another, it's a sign of codependence, meaning that they each depend on one another, but out of a sense of avoiding addressing what is fundamentally problematic in their own psychology or in their own life that they failed to address. Cool. Shout out to Kenya. What are people like in Kenya? What's the dating culture like over there, Grace? In my experience, a woman will be the one to angle for a relationship if they're enjoying their time spent with you, even just casual. That's my experience as well. Usually it's after 6 or 7 dates, she's still seeing you regularly, and the two of you are talking about more topics than just banal small talk. Usually it's her that will start angling towards making it official. However, I don't think that precludes the man from suggesting it. I've had situations in the past where I knew the girl liked me and maybe she wanted to, but she wasn't gonna go there. She knew that I didn't like being pressured or stressed, and so she'd never bring it up. And so if I wanted that, I would address it. So I don't think it's a strict rule that you should always make the girl address the relationship thing. Are you back in London? No, I'm coming back to London on maybe a bit early. It should be the 23rd of June, but I'm starting to think I might get there early because I may have a 10-day quarantine when I get back, and I've got you working with you guys as soon as I get back. So I'll find out about the quarantine and if there's a way of eluding that, or if it still exists at that time. And if not, then I'll get there 10 days early so we can hit the ground running when everything opens up on the 21st. But I'm looking forward to it. Anyone from London, I've got some guys over there who are out approaching and loving it. So let me know if you're from London and tell me how it is, and tell me where some good places to go at the moment. I imagine it will be Covent Garden, London Bridge, South Kensington, but if I'm wrong about that, let me know. And yeah, any more questions, guys? This is an interesting one, and I think in most cases it's true that women normally take the initiative towards moving to something exclusive, because women seek more the security of having one male partner, whereas men seek the reproductive potential of having multiple partners. From an evolutionary standpoint, it is much more costly in evolutionary terms and fitness terms for a woman to have multiple partners, because if she gets impregnated by one who will not support her or stick around or doesn't have good genes, then she's stuck for 9 months pregnancy without support, and then for the rest of her life with a suboptimal child from a fitness perspective. So that's why it's normally the woman that will go for the relationship with the guys, because it costs her more not to have the security and the protection of a man in evolutionary terms. Whereas for the man, even if he has a child that he doesn't support in evolutionary terms, he can then have 10 more children, right? And the likelihood that some of them will survive and propagate their genes is much higher the more children he has. And that's why it's built into our evolutionary code, but thankfully not our moral code, that men should want multiple partners, and women should generally want one partner at a time. Sort of temporary monogamy is how we've spent the majority of our evolutionary history, where men generally seek multiple partners at a time and women seek one partner at a time. But interestingly, there's no evidence that we've ever been a lifelong monogamous species. No one's ever typically in society stayed together forever until the industrial age, where marriages started happening between two wealthy families or even family members to consolidate power, and then they would be expected to stay together for life, and usually had many mistresses and misters. Excited to game again in the upcoming weeks now that we're fully coming out of lockdown. Yeah, man, I mean, I've got a load of old clients and friends in London who are saying that it's beautiful at the moment. People are like really enjoying getting out and talking. People are very open and receptive and responsive, because obviously everyone's had such an inhibited existence that London is a beautiful place yet again. Rio de Janeiro has been beautiful. Today it's pouring with rain, but it's good here. Rio and London are my two favorite places probably in terms of social life. From an evolutionary psychological point of view, the male sexual strategy is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. The woman is consolidating on the highest value male possible. Yeah, generally speaking, that is true. But women still tend to have this desire to be with new partners. It's just much more costly for them to do so without care and without caution. Why is it hard today, Grace? Why is it hard to meet a good one you love today? I think it's because probably more people have more apparent opportunities, right? People can virtually date anyone from the other side of the world. If a rich person wanted to fly over some poor person from another part of the world, he could just message her on Instagram, and if she was interested in it, she could do it. I think the access to potential partners is so much greater now that the fear of missing out on something better is so much higher, that everyone is a lot more, a lot more avoidant of the idea of settling down with one person prematurely. Doesn't mean that they won't do it, but they just take more care. And in my opinion, men up until the age of about 30, 32, they see it as much more costly from an evolutionary perspective to settle down early, when they're in the best part of their life, where they're young, they're fertile, they're having fun, they're exploring. And so there's a tendency for men to want to make the most of that before they settle down and before they find one partner. But usually they do want to do that afterwards. I'm sure you've heard the trope, women are attracted to a man with the ability to cheat, but we choose not to. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, man with options, essentially. Don't go back to London, come to Kenya. What's there for me in Kenya, Grace? You still haven't told me about Kenya. And guys, keep the questions coming. I want to keep this going. I feel like we've slightly addressed this topic, but let's take it back there. At the start, for those who've just joined, we were talking about essentially the two schools of thought in terms of dating for men, in terms of male dating strategies. The first of which is the burn it to the ground school of thought, where they say, where guys think like, the first sign that she's not responding, or the first message she doesn't respond to, delete it, start again, block the contact, because you want to protect your time and protect your value. And the second is, see everything through to the end, figure it out, take your time. And as I always say, there's some truth to both of them. Like, you don't want to waste all your time on someone that's blatantly disrespecting you, but at the same time, you don't want to give up on girls that just wanted you to show a bit more care and investment and intelligence and creativity in the way that you're courting and the way that you're going about it. So I think it's important, as always, to understand both perspectives and not identify yourself with either one, but to treat with care and respect the opportunities that you really want to go well, and not to waste your time on people that you don't really care about. You may find this humorous, but for me, though I'm in England, I can't game in the big city like London, so I'll have to live in the suburbs. The only fear I have is the anonymity, because it's a small town. Well, I don't know why you can't approach women in London. I think anyone with the ability to travel to London can, and particularly if you live in the suburbs, you probably don't want to start talking to everybody in your hometown. You're going to know them, and they're going to be your friends' girlfriends and your social circles. And there is some cause to be careful in environments where you live about not, approaching all the women all the time, because you can easily ostracize yourself from valuable social circles there. So I would actually go to big cities and be more slow and careful about how you approach women in the suburbs or in your small town. Treat it like something over time. Maybe there's a girl that regularly goes to one of the cafes that you go to. Maybe there's someone that works in your gym, and you can get to know them, flirt, play a little bit, and over time build a relationship. And I always say, when you're dating or approaching in smaller towns and suburbs, in those sort of closed social environments, like maybe a gym or a yoga class or something that's a little bit more insular, I like to get to know someone well enough that whether she does, when I ask her out, whether she says yes or no, it's not going to damage our social relationship in that space, right? So if it's receptionist at your gym and it becomes awkward, then you've got a problem, right? You have to leave your gym, or it can get complicated. So I like to get to know them well enough that if they say no, that's not the end. That's not an awkward ending to our relationship. It's just like, okay, I understand. So we're just friends, right? It's where you know them well enough that yes or no is not a problem. It doesn't have to have lasting repercussions for your relationship with them. What to respond when a woman tells you she's in an open relationship? Well, that depends on what you want, right? If she says she's in an open relationship and she wants to have fun with you and you want to have fun with her, then go and have fun with her, right? If you're looking for something serious, if you're looking for a committed monogamous relationship and she's in an open relationship, then she's probably not your woman, right? Unless you investigate further and find that it's the husband that wanted it and she's just trying it, but really she wants a committed relationship. When the questions like these, what to respond when a woman tells you, very much depends on what outcome am I looking for from this situation, right? There is no objectively right or wrong answer. It entirely depends on what you're looking to get out of the relationship. What is my opinion on this open relationship trend? Well, it's very common over here in Brazil. They have a word that we don't have in English called ficando, which means staying. And it's basically like an in-between dating in a relationship where you are not exclusive, but you are sort of on your way, maybe on your way to becoming exclusive. But you can be that with many people, right? It's sort of a limbo, a dating limbo, where a lot of people stay all the time, right? They never go back or forwards from that space. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to be in a relationship or not in a relationship, single or married. I think it's complicated, but I think that the sacrifices, I think it's the nature of humans, and particularly the nature of a man, to be dissatisfied on the surface level, to have tension, right? In that, if he is in a relationship, he has the comfort, the security, the love, the affection of that woman, and yet he's sacrificing his innate urges to be with other women, to explore, to remain confident in the presence of other women through the experience of meeting them. And that's a very, very big sacrifice for a man who pursues the lifestyle that he wants and who focuses on social skills. So it's a huge sacrifice to be in a relationship, and yet on the other hand, it's a huge sacrifice not to be, because although you have the freedom to date whomever you want and to meet other women and to learn and to grow and to have these experiences, there's always a part of your mind that's unsettled by the idea that you don't have that one woman, that support, that person that you can grow in the depth of the experience rather than the breadth. As we are when we're young, when we're maybe under the age of 35, we seek this breadth of experience, a multitude of experiences, new adventures, surface level, bouncing from thing to thing. And usually as men age, they tend to look for depth of experience. And so women are more innately looking at depth of experience. They think about it like, when I say to a girl, or when a man says to a girl, like, no, I don't want to be with one woman because it shuts me off to so many new experiences. And her response is, but you can have all of those experiences with that girl. You can have all of these adventures with that girl. And it just doesn't register with us when we want to be single, because we look at it and we think about it like, yeah, but there are no real new experiences when you're with the same person. I can't meet other girls. I can't have these adventures in my own mind. I can't, you lose a dimension in the breadth and you gain a dimension in the depth, but you have to be emotionally ready to go into the depth of the relationship. And if you're not there, then it's a complete fruitless pursuit. I come from a small country, so every information can spread so fast, especially a negative one. What would you say are top country cities for pickup? I wouldn't use the term pickup. I don't believe that's what I'm doing, and I don't believe that's what you should be doing. I would think about it as like, you want to become a more social person. You enjoy the experience of meeting new women and learning about someone else's life and entering into their world. I think it's a much, much more effective and like wholesome way of thinking about it. But for me, London is one of the top ones. Rio at certain times of year is exceptional. Warsaw, Krakow in Poland are good fun in a similar way to London, with slightly less diversity. And I've heard very good things about parts of Russia as well. How comfortable can you allow women to feel in a long-term relationship? Is there such thing as a healthy amount of anxiety? Yeah, that's a good question. How comfortable can you allow a woman to feel? I don't know, it's a strangely worded one. I think you can allow her to feel very comfortable to the extent that she can trust you and that she can rely on you, and so that she can know that you're not going to, lie to her or, or do something to damage her health or her status or something like that. But comfort here is quite a loaded term. I don't think anxiety. I think there's a healthy amount of jealousy that can happen. For example, I think for any relationship to work, there has to be flirtation, has to still exist. As soon as you are no longer flirting with your girlfriend or your wife, the relationship's on its way either to the finish line. It's either going to end or something's going to have to change, because flirting is always important. So if you go to a restaurant with her and she sees another girl looking at you, and you sort of smile at your girlfriend as she recognizes the other girl looking at her. That's a fun moment of flirtation, you know, essentially, where she realizes that, you know, she's reminded that you're still attracted to other women. In the same way, if a guy comes and hits on her in a bar, and obviously she doesn't flirt back with him, but she smiles at you to let you know that she say, look, I'm still attracted to other people. I think there's many ways in which relationships can flirt, right? And I think it's super important to keep it fresh, to remember what it was like at the start, to remember why they entered into it. So I don't think you should be trying to make your partner feel anxious, because I think that will fall back into codependence, where the relationship is based off of fear of loss rather than peace and happiness in the moment that you're enjoying the other person. Have you experienced women that needed some time to open up if they have been hurt recently? I don't mind if a woman is a challenge, but I would like to keep the momentum of the positive interactions. Have you experienced women that needed to open up if they have been hurt? I don't mind if a woman is a challenge, but I would like to keep the momentum of positive interactions. There's some different, it's a good question. There's some different ways that you could address this. I'm looking forward to Tusky's comments. I'll get onto them in a moment. I would treat it like this, right? Be patient. Again, when you lose patience, you lose the girl. When you give ultimatums, you lose the girl. Seems like a nice idea, right? To say in this case, look, I know you're hurt, but I can't keep having these like negative interactions. So like, this has got to change now. You've lost her. She's gone, because she can't change. If she could, she would. And the fact that you've given an ultimatum means that you've lost patience and you've lost the girl. However, what you can say, for me, like, strength between a man and a woman, whether it's a relationship or a friendship, is about the man being the anchor and the woman being the ship that's sort of caught in the wind, where she can be going in the right direction, but sometimes there's going to be a storm and she might be acting a little bit wild and crazy. And what you don't want then is the anchor to follow suit and to start drifting around wherever the boat's going, and they start negating each other and the anchor tears the hull off the boat, and that's a broken relationship. That's a damaged relationship. What she needs to know from you is that through the storm, through the wind and the rocking and the wildness, you're staying solid and resolute. And that doesn't mean you're letting her disrespect you, but it means that she knows that her wildness or her mood swing or her difficult time, maybe she's been hurt recently, her difficult time isn't going to move you. You're not going to react to it. You're not going to follow with that wind in the storm. And so when a man demonstrates that, look, especially in a position of fatherhood or in a relationship, and he says, look, you can have your moments, but you know that I'm always going to be here. I'm not going to rise to that. I'm not going to get blown around, right? I know what I'm here to do. Essentially, when you show that you're sturdy through the storm, when you show that you're staying still and you're not moved by it, you're unmoved by these sort of transient moods and things, and you know what's fundamental underneath them, then those storms will stop. The ship will stop rocking because it knows that it's supported, that it's safe. And so it has no reason to test that strength. A lot of the time when a girl's, acts a bit crazy, as we say, it's to test the resolution of the man, subtly, subconsciously. It's to test whether he's breaking, whether he'll break, whether the anchor will snap from the rope. And if it will, then is it worth investing in this guy? Is that something that you can invest in long term? Probably not. You probably want to invest in the one that is unmoved and undeterred. Tusky, why are you wearing a headband? I'm not sure that I am Tusky, actually. I think I am now. If you want to see Samurai Sam in my running gear, let's give you a headband. What other intelligent pearls of wisdom has Tusk got for us today? You chocolate woofter. By the way, my STI test was negative. Right, well, we were going to go for an hour, I think Tusk has left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. Guys, do you have any other questions? I'll quickly recap what we went over at the start, which is the first quote that we came to is, when you lose patience, you lose the girl. And we talked about this in reference to how you can improve in the long run. There are the two schools of thought: the burn it to the ground, rinse and repeat school of thought, and there's the problem solving, let me figure this out. Que sera, I've got patience, I can figure this out with this girl. Long-term mindset. Do not identify with either school. Take a leaf out of each book. Do not waste your time on girls you're not interested in. Yet when you are really interested and you want to make it happen, figure it out, problem solve, figure out how you're going to get that girl and pursue it and follow it through. When you lose patience, you lose the girl. Do not identify with either of them. Do not find yourself leaning too far in either direction, into either camp. Understand both, that you do not waste your time. You do not allow your time to be absorbed in things that are not important to you, in people that are not important for you to meet with, that you don't consider important. And when you do, taking the Rollo Tomassi plate spinning idea, figure out which plate is gold leafed and which one is a disposable plastic plate, to use a crass terminology. But you should be understanding what value you place on seeing which person, and you should be acting according to how you value them. Any final questions before I end this thing? Slightly shorter than usual. But any final questions, ask them here. As I said, I'm going to be back in London at some point in June. I think early mid-June, probably, if I'm going to have to spend 10 days in quarantine. As always, find my Calendly link where you can book a free 30-minute breakthrough call with me, where I can address virtually, well, literally any of your sticking points, anything you want to know, anything I can help with. Let's jump on a call. I can help you out. I can set you up with people in London or virtually any other part of the world. And I like it. I've been getting really good feedback from people about these streams and about the work. And I really appreciate it. I love being able to do this from abroad and still having you guys tuning in and supporting. So any questions, come to the Calendly link. Open relationships. Somewhat philosophical note, why do you think we're seeing the breakdown of long-term relationships in this modern era? I don't think we are seeing the breakdown of long-term relationships in any fundamental sense. I think we're seeing more obviously, we're seeing the evidence that lifelong monogamous relationships usually don't work. It's a very rare case that two people will fall in love and stay in love, where the benefit of being together and the happiness they get from being with one another is greater than their desire to be with someone else or falling out of love. I think we're seeing the evidence of what before was bubbling under the surface, where there were less opportunities to meet someone new. Earlier, you would meet one person and then she was in your village, and so even if you got bored, there was nothing else, no one else to go to, right? Society was pressuring you to be together for life because that was in your recent history after the agricultural revolution, and marriage became a way of consolidating power between wealthy individuals or nations or families. I think it's societal pressure. So I think what we're seeing now is the evidence of a more accurate version of our human nature. And it's just that we now have the opportunities to act on what was a pre-existing psychological desire. So I actually don't think there's any, secret reason for why long-term relationships aren't so common, or that they don't last in the same way. I just think we're seeing the evidence now of what our psychology naturally encourages towards. So thank you all for watching. Some good questions as always. Please hashtag replay if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag live if you're watching it live. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow with a new topic at the same time. So this has been fun. As always, look forward to seeing you guys in London. Sam, wait a second. Joz has got some more ridiculous comments. Depth or breast? Horny Shakespeare asketh the question. Right. Okay, good stuff, Joz. All right, bye, guys. Sam out.